We have 4 production systems or categories. So within the awards, there are 4 awards for different production systems and 3 farmers within each production system. So firstly, with suckler to beef production, suckler to weanling or store production, with weanling or store to beef production, and finally dairy calf to beef production. They're the 4 different award categories. And all of the farms, all of the 12 farms were visited by the 3 judges, myself, Aidan Murray and Darren Carty there over the last month or 6 weeks, and we're really, really grateful for the response that we got. So generous with your time, showed us everything to do with your farms and shared, information that many farmers maybe might be sensitive of, telling us about how you produce cattle, whether it's to do with, your choice of genetics, your grassland management, how you deal with issues such as, waste management, slurry spreading, all of that type of detail. We threw plenty of technical questions at you, and I can assure that the farmers gave us back, 110% of the information that we were looking for. It was really, really, really impressive. So over the next few minutes, I'd just like to call on my fellow judges to give you a short overview of the finalists' farms, starting with Aidan Murray from Teagasc, who's going to cover the 4 farms in the western region.
Okay, thanks very much, Joe. Well, as Joe said, on behalf of Teagasc, I have to thank Board BIA and the Farmers Journal for our involvement with the competition. As many of you know, or may not know, Teagasc has been involved closely with Board BIA in relation to developing this carbon navigator, which is going to be a measure of how efficiently we are able to produce our beef in the future. And, as a country, and as a net exporter, it is our aim overall nationally to have the lowest carbon footprint for beef of any country in the EU. And I think on the evidence of certainly of what I've saw in the last few weeks on the farms that we've visited, you'd be more than happy to bring any customer in and show them the system and how efficiently they're operated. And in terms of quality assurance, I think I've seen some of the best farmyards and some tremendous stock over the last few weeks. From my own point of view, I would have to thank the farmers for their hospitality, and as Joe said, the huge amount of time that they gave us outlining their system and what they were doing, and possibly talking about what direction they were going to go in the future. So look, congratulations to you all on getting this far and being selected, and it's very encouraging from our perspective to see that the 12 farms that were selected on the basis of their carbon footprint and their quality assurance, we weren't disappointed as judges when we went out and actually saw what was on the ground. It was hugely impressive. As Joe said, I'm starting off with the farms in the west, and the first farm is the suckler to beef system belonging to Michael O'Donoghue in Ballyglounin in County Galway. Michael is operating in a heifer and a steer type system where all stock are finished, and he's purchasing in around 40 or 50 mainly bull weanlings on 84 hectares of grassland. From my own perspective, hugely impressive with the weight gain and the quality of the stock. Was purchasing his cows from outside, but huge emphasis with, there were great ability to calve, good sized cows and massive ability to milk, and was driving on performance and getting, as Joe mentioned earlier, this essential weight for age and getting cattle into slaughter weights at a young age overall. Again, we've seen this year ICBF put out that nationally we've slipped in terms of our calving interval to 412 days. Michael's herd was at a calving interval of 372 days and hit the magical target of a calf per cow per year. Typically he's finishing his steers there in February and March in around sort of 380 to 400 kilo carcasses, and the heifers are coming in at around about 330 to 350 kilos. Tremendous stock, very well managed, great facilities in terms of calving facilities, and an immaculate farmyard. So that's Michael O'Donoghue from Ballyglounin in County Galway. Our second farm in the west is a suckler to weanling farm. Farming 37 hectares, I think 26 of that owned and 11 hectares rented. farm, slightly fragmented, and it's a 50 cow herd of Tim Joyce in Turlough, County Galway. Whenever you hear that someone's looking to produce weanlings for export, you sort of are a wee bit wary initially, because it's a system that if it's done well, there's very good rewards. If it's a system that's not done so well, it can be very, very high cost system with high losses and that. But I think the thing that impressed us as judges with Tim's system was he had identified a cow, a 3/4 bred Limousin, red Limousin type cow. He was calving them at 2 years of age. He had selected top quality sires and he could match the AI usage of the bulls to the cows that he had in the herd. Again, for that system, 0.96 calves per cow per year, excellent, and the quality of some of the stock that was on view. You can see some of the stock that was left on the farm when we arrived, but very, very good quality overall. And you know, had the system where he was able to take condition off cows, ease the calving and get them into serious prices. I mean, the top calves sold off that farm this autumn was €3.10 a kilo for calves going for export, and that has been done consistently because the same buyers are coming back to the farm. Very, very impressive farm, very impressive in terms of the weight gain, getting on the weanlings. As you can see, he's not afraid to invest a bit of extra money, even in what was a difficult year, in that he wanted to be able to make more use of grass, have obviously extra accommodation, but be able to get young calves that were born in the sort of November to February period, get them out to grass, which he hadn't got the same scope around the house to be able to do that. But now the new shed on the sort of out farm is allowing him to do that. But again, you know, good cow performance, calving his heifers at 2, and a good level of output from a system which is very, very tricky. Certainly, he would be someone that if you wanted to promote the blueprint of developing B and U grade weanlings, he's certainly a man that you would knock on his door. So well done, Tom. That's some of his 2-year-old heifers that are in calves. 15 of those coming in this year. Our third finalist from the west was Aidan Kelly there on your left, with his brother Enda beside him. A weanling to store system whereby, you know, farming 100 hectares, have a good contract business in Tough-McConnell and County Roscommon, growing cereals and whole crop, which wouldn't be traditional for that area, but buys in about 200 continental weanling bulls each year and some heifers. Obviously, a bit of turmoil this year in that type of system, given the age criteria and the weight specifications that's been imposed there from a factory perspective, and it's, you know, we could certainly pick up on the day that he was querying, you know, what he could give to suckler farmers for their stock coming in, because he definitely could see the need that we need to keep suckler farms there to produce these good quality weanlings for finishing in the country. Was buying in lighter bulls in the spring, grazing them through, taking them in, housing them. You can see there that he has a mixture of zero grazing with grass, which was high dry matter given the dry August and September that we've after having, with a bit of straw, 2 kilos of concentrates before they're built up for about 120 day finishing period on ad-lib concentrates and a bit of whole crop cereals and that. Very clued in on the market, very clued in on what he was buying and what was going on in the market overall. And as I say, a very, very difficult year, but for finishers. Young bulls, typically sort of 400, 420 kilo carcasses. Some of the overage bulls were up to 450, 460 kilo carcasses. But again, very, very good feeder, very, very good management overall, and I was very impressed by his overall knowledge of the beef trade and the beef scene. So well done, Aidan. And some of the young bulls that were just in and starting to be fed up in the system. The fourth finalist from the west is a county man of my own, William Morrow from Raphoe in County Donegal. Very, very scenic, just at the edge of the town in Raphoe. Farming about 60 hectares, working on the Premium Angus scheme currently. And William would have been in a number of systems. He's tried the Frisian bull beef in the overall dairy calf to beef system. Would have been traditionally a finished heifers, a planer type heifer by his own admission in the past before he moved on to the dairy calf to beef type system. I suppose what was impressive from our perspective with William was that he was buying in 300 calves between February and April, so there was roughly 50 calves a week coming in over a 6-week period. But it was the attention to detail, absolutely no mortality in the calves coming in. Calves were fed on milk replacer for 10 or 12 weeks after they came in, very well minded initially, and then gradually let out to grass, a bit of concentrate fed, and then let to grass all the time and no concentrate fed during the entire summer until they go back in where they're on very good quality silage and about 1.5 kilos of concentrate. In what would be a good grass year but a difficult grass year to manage, it was very, very impressive in terms of some of the pictures we'll show you that there was hardly a blade of grass that wasn't green to the butt and getting very, very good performance on his cattle overall and that. So, you know, they were very uniform, some black whiteheads coming in there as well. A bit of an issue, you know, he would like to be able to get the carcass weights higher than sort of 220, 230 kilos, but again, this type of heifer that was their potential and being killed off at a young age. Heifers that were older type heifers, they were typically fed from about August onwards and fed for about 6 to 8 weeks before slaughter. And you know, as I said, typically the carcass weights were probably 230 to 250 odd kilos for that type of animal. But again, his stockmanship, his grassland management, and his eye for picking a very uniform batch of calves coming in was very, very impressive. So well done with him on that.
Excellent, thanks very much, Aidan. Next to cover the 4 finalists in the Midlands and East region, Darren Carty from the Farmers Journal.
Thanks a million, Joe. I suppose just before I go into the 4 finalists, I'd just like to echo what Joe said and what Aidan said. On behalf of the Farmers Journal, we were delighted to be involved in the farmers, each and every one, and the hospitality we received was unreal, so it was. I suppose what really struck home to me, the quality of the farmers we were dealing with, was when I sat down to try and write the pieces. And with 500 words to write, and I found myself going up to 800-900 cutting back, adding in pieces. And I sent it on to the 2 lads as well, and we were sort of talking on the phone, what you left in, what you left out. But the response we received from the Farmer Focus articles we put in was really something else. And most of the questions were, we find out a bit more about this system. People are genuinely interested. You could see straight away that the farms that were selected were the top performing farms, and people wanted to know how you got there, what you were doing to stay there, and what you were doing to sort of be among, I suppose, the elite farmers this competition has identified. I won't stay talking any longer. I'm going to introduce the farms in the southeast. I suppose start with something the beef producer, Johnny Green from Megani in Kildare. And I suppose this was an aspect that we hadn't really sort of seen before we started. If anyone had said that we'd have 2 of the final farms with a Solaire suckler cow herd, we would have sort of been saying, gee, the chances of that. But from the 2 farms, and especially both Paul, who Joe talked about, and Johnny's farm, you could see straight away why they were doing it. They had fertility in mind, they had all the functional attributes that the cow wanted. Johnny wanted a cow that he didn't have to do too much with. He's farmed about 50 hectares of the beef enterprise, but he's also farming a large scale tillage enterprise with his dad. And his focus was having a cow that would perform for him, would deliver a good quality calf, and that he wasn't going to have to put in a lot of work calving, or that he wasn't going to have to spend a lot of time with. The cows in the herd were absolutely exceptional. There was definitely, I suppose, we got a lot of calls on what types of bulls he was using, what type of Solaire cow he was using, and what type of a cross he was going for. That's just a picture that he was setting calf cow with a bull calf at foot. Johnny was also using a Shirley bull in previous years and was getting exceptional quality, that sort of golden type calf. I suppose one of the most things that sort of was very, very interesting on the farm is that the tillage and the beef were sort of ran in a symbiotic relationship. One of the things he said to us was, we said, what's he do with the straw? How does he cost it in and cost it out of the beef enterprise? And he said, I should probably be costing the straw back out of the beef enterprise because it's adding to my tillage. He's very, very focused on P&K levels in both the grassland and in the tillage ground. And he was sort of operating a very, very good rotation and also going down the route and sowing some winter crops. From the perspective in the journal, I wrote sheep as well. He's also taken on, I think it's his wife is taking on a floppy OS there as well. So there was a lot happening on the farm. But even though there was tillage, beef, sheep happening, the attention to detail and the focus on the market was really something else. Next farmer was John Keena from Belmont in County Offaly. I suppose John is a farmer that was doing things a small bit different in that he had some very good quality land, but it ran into a heavier sort of peat area ground. And looking at that, you could really say that a lot of farms in the west of Ireland or a lot of farms in the Midlands have the same sort of system. And he was tweaking his system to make the maximum use out of his grass and the facilities he had available. He had 80 cows up the herd, calving 50 sort of from June, July, August onwards. And a lot of people would say that it's not an ideal time of the year to be calving. But he had his own reasons for it in that he was able to calve. He had no real sort of problems in this. In the start of the year, he could let the calves out. If the weather was bad, they could utilise the grass that was available. The cows could be tightened up, and he had calves coming on board. He also had 30 cows that were calving in the springtime. Now they were calving in sort of March, April, May. He was calving into grass. He was making use of the facilities that were available, making use of waste grass, and his grassland management was very, very good. He was operating 5-day sort of paddocks, just very, very simple. They were all split with temporary electric fence, moved with trot, and even the silage fields. He had a very, very good system of just splitting them up. In regards to his production system then, he was sort of trying to, I suppose, not put all his eggs in one basket. And as you can see there, he's some very, very good quality limousine calves. So he was trying to meet that balance in that the higher end calves were going for the live export market, but he also had a very, very good functional calf to sell in the spring of the year for farmers buying for, say, summer grazing systems, or alternatively, the very good animals could be bought and pushed onto a bull beef system. That's just another picture there, I suppose, of bull selection was very, very good as well. He only went for a bull that had very, very high reliability figures. And going through the different farmers, they're all very, very tuned in and reading their herd plus data, and really, I suppose, what they wanted in a bull. The one area, I suppose, that he's seen, and a lot of the farms say we visit them, they did have plans to try and improve and try and advance themselves. And John would admit himself that he'd gone down that route of the sort of limousine cow, 3/4 bred, and maybe milk in some of his cows was limiting. So he had a plan in place to try and bring back a bit more milk. And what he had done in the last 2 years is he bought some Hereford heifers. That's been there a year and a half of age. Very, very good weight for age, and they will sort of provide the foundation for his breeding stock going forward. So very, very tuned into the market, but also tuned into a functional cow that suits the land type that he has. The next farmers that I'm covering is the father and son duo of James Boy Senior and Junior. There was actually very little stock on the farm the day we went up. They always run a very large tillage enterprise, but even though they do that, they still have a very, very good focus on beef, and in particular, very, very good focus on nutrition, keeping a simple system, and also producing an animal that the market requires. James said to us when we were quizzing him up on the rations, he said, I just wanted simple, straightforward, no fancy additions. It was barley, soya, some whale cake, I think distillers as well to balance it up. The least possible cost, but not to compromise in quality. They were buying in about 300 grains in the back end of the year, feeding them to bulls, and I suppose, as Aidan mentioned with the Kelly system, they did come up against some difficulties last year in weight limits and carcass specifications. So they're tweaking their system now. They're buying a bull maybe a bit lighter to suit maybe a 16-month system, or a bull that will go on maybe to an 18-month system but won't have the extremes of carcass weights that they had. They did have some Frisian bulls on the farm the day we visited, and I suppose one of the things that they've seen is they have a good eye, or maybe a good eye for where value can be added to the system. Last spring they seen these, as you all know, there wasn't a very good trade for dairy bred cattle. Bought them, raised them during the summer, has got very, very good weight gain on. That feed there you can't see it, but he's split it up into temporary paddocks. And just when we were visiting, they were being built up to be put inside in an ad-lib finishing diet. So I suppose from the farm, what we took from it was very, very good attention to detail. The things, everything was done with a sort of focus on being simplistic, but not compromising on performance, or not compromising on letting costs escalate. And the last participant I'm featuring is Joe Farrell from Castledermis in there. And as you can see there straight away, Joe is producing that premium animal, her for the Angus for premium markets, buys in about 100 calves every year, likes to buy them in batches of 40. And again, like a lot of the farmers, there was a focus on increasing output, but doing it within their means and doing it within a system that fits their facilities, fits land type. Joe was buying in about 40 calves, 40, 40 and 20. Was trying to sort of make the best use of the facilities that he had. Animals were being finished out of the shed from sort of 20 to 24 months of age, and as animals were going, he was buying in more calves and rearing them on. Carcass weights in general are ranging from about 320 to 350 for the steers and about 310 to 340 for the heifers. So getting very, very good weight for age. Again, he was combining a tillage and a grass-based system and getting very, very good results. As you can see in the left of the picture, there was a focus on maybe reducing the amount of inputs that had to go into the grass-based system, and a lot of these paddocks and good clover swallows he was making maximum use later on in the year and getting good weight gain off clover swallows without having to use excessive nitrogen. They were just calves, swing-born calves bought in this year. Those for a nice type of calf. There is some Frisians in it as well. I suppose buying some Frisians, there was a bit of value in the market, and they would be bought to go to be 16 months of age. Just the last point I suppose about Joe is we haven't got this copyrighted or anything, but we hope he doesn't have a copyright this before. But very, very good, I suppose, maybe focus on reducing labour. He was feeding 40 calves, and he made up this sort of mobile feeding unit. On the back there in the corner, it's a shower unit for heating the milk, and he can bring that to the different sheds, and he can do the feeding in less than an hour for his 100 calves. So very, very good, I suppose, focus on reducing labour and making the best use of the facilities of what he had. So that's the last of the farmers I introduced.
Thanks very much, Darren. I'm just now going to profile the farms in the southern region, and just when I'm talking about the southern region, I'd like to welcome Minister Tom Hayes, who's Junior Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine. The first farm that I wish to briefly go through would be that of John Daly in Riverstick in County Cork. And we visited John Daly's farm. John is farming 42 hectares, which includes 5 hectares of tillage crops, in addition to mainly grassland then after that. And he has a couple of different enterprises, both of which he's working very, very well. You can see there the suckler herd, which mainly consists of Charolais type cows, as well as some Simmentals that are bought in locally directly from dairy herds. So he's about 25 cows, which are spring calving, block calving there in the months of mainly in February and March, at a reasonable weaning rate, in spite of, as Aidan touched on earlier on, a lot of farms had a disappointing calving rate this year, but John is maintaining a high output of good quality calves. Again, mainly using Charolais as the terminal sire breed. Along with buying in some replacement heifers, he also breeds replacement heifers himself, which are kept through as well. He remains flexible as well too. A small number of the animals are sold as weanlings, but the majority are carried through to beef. And the key thing about this, in spite of using Charolais, which would be generally considered to be a breed that can be carried through to heavier weights at older ages, John is slaughtering animals at a young age, at 19 months, 20 months. Getting very, very good weight for age and getting the fat cover on them, which is a bit of a challenge for some farmers using continental genetics. And in addition to the 25 cattle that he's breeding himself from his own suckler herd, he also buys in about 20 calves as well in the springtime of the year to rear. And these are, a mixture of John's 1.5-year-old stock, his own Charolais breeding, along with his Angus and Hereford reared calves. So you can see the standard to which he's rearing the calves, that they're able to nearly hold their own there with his own suckler bred stock. And these are examples then of Hereford calves, which he bought in the spring of this year and he reared through. And on average, he's achieving very good carcass weights, even at an average between his own suckler stock and the dairy-bred cattle. He's getting 340 kilos of an average carcass weight on his steers and 310 kilos on the heifers. So very, very impressive performance there on good quality land and good quality grazing management in County Cork. Moving on then to the finalist in County Cork as well too, in the suckler to weaning production. So Paul Hurley, he again is farming 34 hectares of grassland, all in grazing land, and has a 45 cow suckler herd, mainly consisting of Salaire genetics. So we saw Salaire in some of the other farms and working well as well too in this example. Some of the cows are pedigree cows as well too, but they're managed very much in the same way as the commercial cows. They don't get any specialist attention maybe over and above what is given to the rest of the cows. Somewhat different maybe to other producers. Paul, I should say, is block calving in the months of July and August. All of the cows calve in the months of July and August. Very tight calving interval, 362-day calving interval in 2013, and achieving very, very close to that magical calf per cow per year figure. And you'd ask, in a very good grassland area, how come you'd be calving in July and August? Well, actually, really, it suits the system in terms of labour efficiency and producing, a good quality animal to sell at a certain time of the year. He's selling weanlings at a time of the year when, in general, those good quality, strong, healthy calves are quite scarce in terms of their availability. He tends to wean the calves before letting them out to grass. So before turnout, the calves are weaned and they're given priority grazing for the year then. The dry cows then follow on and clean up the pastures afterwards. So we were very, very impressed with that. In terms of his output, he was producing very good quality score heifers, which you can see an example of there. Some of them Charolais crosses, some of them Belgian blue crosses, and a lot of Salaire maternal breeding as well too in his stock there as well. And the bulls then, the equivalent bulls of the same age of those, were sold at 11 months of age at over 500 kilos live weight to a specialist finisher. So again, that was very, very impressive. There's an example of a very good big Salaire cow as well. In the finisher category then for the southern region, Pat Murray is buying in very, very good quality weanlings and light young store cattle near Gorey in County Wexford. Pat is a former dairy farmer, and again we could see that influence that some of those tips and things that he had learnt in dairy farming were having around the farm as well too. You can see the swards and the quality of the grass, and a particular focus as well too on nutrient management on the farm and the use of slurry and the use of farmyard manure. Large farm, 89 hectares in total, and split more or less half and half between grazing land and tillage crops, and finishing about 200 cattle per year altogether, with the majority of those bought from local suckler farmers. So he knew exactly the type of genetics that he was buying, the health of those animals, and the potential performance of them in his system. Some cattle were being finished off grass with some supplementation in June and July, and you can see there the quality of the cattle that were being bought. A lot of Belgian blue cattle, limousine cattle, some blonde Aquitaine crosses. So again, the perception among a lot of farmers would be that they'd be very difficult cattle to finish. How would a farmer be slaughtering them at a young age and also utilising a lot of grass in his system? Well, he was doing it very, very successfully. again in conjunction with his tillage enterprise, which was supplying a lot of the feed for the winter finishing enterprise. So in terms of finishing cattle, he was very much aware of what the market was looking for, slaughtering steers at an average of about 420 kilos carcass weight at just over 2 years of age, and also slaughtering heifers at 22 months of age at about 370 kilos carcass weight. Again, very, very good confirmation, and getting the appropriate fat cover as well too for the market. There are some steers as well too for the farm. Again, you can see the confirmation on those animals in good quality breeding. Their 5 heifers were very close to slaughter stage, just getting a bit of additional supplementation before finished off. And I think they've gone to the factory since then at very, very impressive carcass weights of up to 400 kilos, even, you know, at you know, just fat score 3s and 4 minuses. So the final producer then that I just want to briefly give a very short overview on would be the Kinselas, and you can see the Kinsella family there, John and Margaret, with their son Edno. And they're mainly dairy farmers, I suppose it's fair to say. They're farming 64 hectares down near New Ross in County Wexford, but they're also maintaining their progeny from that dairy herd all the way through to finish as steers and heifers. So very, very impressive quality of cattle. Some of the cattle that we were looking at, a suckler farmer would be proud of him if he was able to produce cattle to that weight, to that standard at that young age. The fact that the dairy herd had a British Frisian kind of a base in it, they were performing well and they were achieving good confirmation and you know, extremely high growth rates. On average, out of the 70 cows, 30 cows would be selected and inseminated in order to produce replacements, and the remaining 40 then would be bred to beef sires, mainly AI, Belgian Blue, Hereford and Angus. And high level of management on this farm and record keeping was exceptional. For example, we heard on the day of the audit that the farmer had achieved 100% in his recent SDAS, which is the Sustainable Dairy Assurance Scheme audit. You know, that again, that scheme is being rolled out, and a lot of dairy farmers are now coming into the scheme. But he was exceptional in that he achieved 100% in all categories of that audit. Calves on this farm, part of the reason why he's achieving the results that he is that the calves get off to such a great start, and they receive 6 litres of milk during the rearing stage up to nearly 10 weeks of age. And during that time, they're built up to 1 kilo of meal, and the grassland management, again, coming from a dairy background, the grassland management is exceptional and very well planned out grazing rotation. Everything was measured down to the amount of meal supplementation that the animals were getting up to slaughter. And John was able to tell us that on average the steers were receiving 525 kilos of meal supplementation prior to finishing at just 20 to 22 months of age, and on average that the heifers were averaging just 370 kilos. So very, very impressive, and the quality of cattle were really something to be proud of. Again, exceptional young animals. So now to the presentation of the awards, and I am pleased that the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Simon Coveney, has kindly agreed to present the awards, and I think he's going to just give a short introduction first.
Thanks, Joe. And, first of all, congratulations to all of the farm families that have been shortlisted. I'm sure you're all here. And you probably don't want me to talk for too long because you want to get on with prize giving. But I do want to just briefly put this into context. We have been on a journey for quite some time in the beef sector to change the way in which we produce beef in Ireland, to basically measure and collect data on the way in which we're producing beef, not just to try and improve efficiency and profitability, but also to provide proof of sustainability in an industry that we hope to grow and expand over the next number of years. And I think that the role of Bord Bia in particular in that story, working with farm organisations, working with farm families themselves, we now have 46,000 beef farms across the country using a carbon calculator, measuring the sustainability of how their animals are growing and performing. And I think we have managed to prove a direct correlation between sustainably run both dairy farms and in particular beef farms, and also profitable beef production. There's been a lot of talk today, and there's been a lot of talk this year about beef prices. It's been a difficult year for many beef farmers, particularly a lot of specialist suckler beef farmers who are producing continental breeds, big heavy animals with high quality meat on the carcass, getting very strong prices last year. In fact, prices at an all-time high. And this year they're finding for the exact same animals they're getting weight penalties and a very disappointing price. I'm not going to go into it now, but there are structural things that we need to do to change in the beef sector to improve the negotiating capacity for farmers collectively, but also to ensure that we are giving farmers, particularly those that are listening, all of the information that they need in terms of producing the best possible animals that they can, that will get them the best price, and that will produce animals that are both sustainable, safe, that have all of the transparency systems in place that allow me and others in the industry to sell Irish beef across the world as an absolute premium product. And we will do that and continue to work with the beef sector to try and ensure that we improve from a farming perspective the access to available margin that the marketplace can provide into the future. But this evening is about recognising sustainability. It's about the Origin Green programme, which is very much linked to beef, linked to dairy, linked to lamb and pigs and poultry in Ireland. But the biggest industry of all of those by far is beef, given the number of farmers that are involved. As I've been saying for years at this stage, of the 130,000 farm families in Ireland, 100,000 of those get some income from beef, and about 70,000 are pure beef farmers. And so we need to ensure that leaders in the beef sector, and those leaders are in this room, in terms of the standards that you set, the benchmarks that you're setting for yourselves in your own family-run businesses, in terms of getting the best performance out of your herds, in terms of delivering the best breeding programs by using genomic information as it's there, from a dairy perspective, looking at the potential of semen technology, and so on. We need to use the innovation that is available now through science and through a data-led approach towards producing animals that are more efficient in terms of how they're produced, that are more sustainable from a carbon footprint and water management perspective and protection of biodiversity perspective. And most importantly, that they give you a decent margin and a decent return, because unless there is a margin in beef, this industry is going to have a difficult future ahead of it, because we can't have a situation where everyone is relying on schemes and supports provided by government and provided by a CAP. So this evening is about recognising that excellence and thanking the farmers that have participated in it. It's about narrowing down from a list of over 40,000 farmers that are in the Quality Assurance Scheme down to 12. And in many ways, you are the top beef producers in Ireland in the different categories that you're in, from suckler to beef, from suckler to weanling and stores, from weanling to beef, and also the examples that we've seen in relation to dairy calf to beef, which also makes a very significant contribution to our overall beef numbers and beef herd. So really, I want to say thank you for buying into this new mindset in Irish agriculture, which I am convinced will ensure that we get better prices and improved market access in the future, because of the reputation that will come with Irish beef as we explore and develop new premium markets for your product. And also, as consumers and as clients that buy Irish beef get more demanding in terms of proof of sustainability into the future. So can I thank Joe, Darren and Aidan from Borbia, obviously the Farmers Journal and Teagasc for the work they've done as judges, and I look forward now to all 12 that have been shortlisted are winners in effect but we're going to get an actual winner now from each category, and I look forward to meeting you afterwards. Well done to everybody.
Thanks very much, Minister Coveney. The first category which we're going to present the awards for, and what we'll first do is to present the runner-ups, or again, as Minister Coveney pointed out, the standard of the farms that we judged in all categories was very, very high. So, all finalists, should consider themselves winners in their respective production systems. And it was really, really hard to judge the winners in each of the 4 different categories. So, first, the finalist in the suckler to beef category. Again, a very, very hard category to judge. Michael O'Donoghue in County Galway, the runner-up or finalist in that category. Exactly. So, Michael, if you'd like to. Congratulations. And the next finalists then are John Daly, County Cork. So, John, well done.
It's the neighbour of mine.
So, the award winner for suckler to beef production for the Origin Green Awards 2014 is Jonathan Green, County Kildare.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So the second category that we'd now like to present the awards for is the suckler to weanling category. Runner-up in that category, John Keena, County Offaly. Well done to John. John is also IFA chairman for County Offaly. And well done, John. And other runner-up in the suckler to weanling category, Paul Hurley, County Cork. Well done, Paul. And so the Origin Green Award for the suckler to weaning category goes to Tim Joyce in County Galway. Well done, Tim. I have an award for you here as well. Thanks very much. So the third category then refers to weanling store to beef production, and the standard among the 3 finishers in this category was very, very high. All of them paying attention to market signals, producing as much as they possibly could, adapting to the market conditions. So first finalist that we'd like to call out for their finalist award goes to James Hoey, County Louth. Well done, James. Then the second finalist that we'd like to call out, Aidan Kelly, County Roscommon. And so the Origin Green Award for store to beef production goes to Pat Murray, County Wexford. And the final category now, just to announce the Origin Green Awards for, would be the dairy calf to beef production category. And The first finalist to announce in that award is Joe Farrell from County Kildare. Now, during our judging, we visited one producer we felt was doing a really exceptional job with regard to the standard of hygiene, tidiness and record keeping. And for that reason, I would like to present a special merit award for quality assurance to John Kinsella in County Wexford. Here you go, John. And so finally, the winner of the award for dairy calf to beef production goes to William Morrow from County Donegal. So that concludes the awards. Just to tell you a little bit about the prizes or the envelopes maybe that I was giving out there. A lot of farmers are already weighing their stock, and you know, one of the, I suppose, awards or a bursary towards a weighing scales for their respective farms or for their handling units. But we found travelling around that a lot of the farmers actually, you know, which was you know, unusual for us going around, a lot of them were already weighing stock in order to monitor their performance, to decide on the best strategy for management and feeding, and also for selecting animals for slaughter. So we were very impressed with that, but that's just a small bursary towards their handling or weighing facilities. Just to conclude, I'd just finally like to say how pleased we were and what a pleasure it was going around to visit all of the 12 finalists and to thank them again for their participation in the awards. It's probably about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago that I sent out a letter to each of the farmers in the post and followed it up with a phone call, and it was probably a bit strange already for most of you to, you know, hear that we were having such a thing as the Origin Green Sustainable Beef Producer Awards. But I can certainly tell you that we weren't disappointed. Every single farm that we visited, you know, we saw efficient, sustainable beef production and a passion for what you were doing. You know, I know there are difficulties and the market has been difficult this year, but above all, the farmers were striving for success and trying to find the best possible solution to the problem, unfortunately, that we're facing. And if there is a future in beef production, and I firmly believe that there is, you know, ye are the producers of the future that are going to find that solution and strive forward and produce quality beef for the export markets that we're supplying, and all of those premium customers, hopefully that in the future that are going to be offering, you know, a better price for Irish beef. So thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention this evening, and congratulations again to all 12 finalists in the awards.